The word is out, everybody. You've probably heard about it, and you know we certainly have. The 8-week Battlebots Faceoff event is set to kick off in Las Vegas, starting with an exciting group of 4 robots this weekend, including a couple of all-stars. These face-off episodes and fights are going to be landing on YouTube. That's right, YouTube, not Discovery. But what are we, the TV fans, supposed to expect? Join the Combot Collective for a 2-part Battlebots Faceoff preview. We're here to give you all the details on all 8 groups, including the 32 robots present, all the robot stories and history they have had since the conclusion of World Championship 7 leading into this event. We're going to be discussing the Battlebots Faceoff format, including how it's going to be presented on TV. And at the very end of this preview, we got all of the predictions and big takes for group number 1 through 8. The Battlebots Faceoffs are set to begin, everybody. So let's give you the perfect primer on what to expect here at the Combot Collective.
Welcome to the Combot Collective.
Hello and welcome to the Combot Collective, back to bring everything you want to know about the world of Battlebots. As no, we still don't have news on World Championship 8 on Discovery, or whatever network we end up on now. But needless to say, our appetites will be fulfilled over the fall, going into the winter of 2024. As of course, first announced at Open Sauce 2024 by Battlebots co-founder Greg Munson, we now have the Battlebots Faceoffs. And whatever the Las Vegas rioters say, be damned, Battlebots will be going through with this event. The best robots in the world are going to be there, and of course, tickets are on sale now. Link for said tickets, some very exciting weekend shows on deck, will be in the description below. Same place as always with the Destructathon in the thick of Las Vegas. In case you didn't know the full details or don't keep up with the social media or website buzz, Battlebots Faceoffs will be an 8-week competition featuring 32 robots, all split into 4 robot groups, which will be facing off one another in a group stage round robin, World Cup style, with only one robot being labeled as the group winner, giving us 8 winners in total. Worth noting that this event is labeled as a qualifier of sorts by Battlebots for World Championship 8, but as we've heard by numerous sources, that is not necessarily the case, especially for the bigger names. Look at it more as a scouting for the newer robots here, plus the World Championship bubble robots. That being said, if or when World Championship 8 comes around, I would genuinely be shocked if any of our 8 group winners here do not qualify for the main field of 50. And yes, it is also worth noting here that these 8 group winners will not be going into a bracket of 8 or anything special like that. These 8 winners is where the line is going to end. I'd love to see Battlebots try to organize something like that down the line. I'm sure the logistics of getting 8 teams all in one place so suddenly for one weekend would be a bit of a headache, but it isn't necessarily impossible. Fingers crossed there, but whatever happens, happens. Right now, it's just the 8 group stages. And the first 6 of these 8 group stages will go from the weekend of September 20th, the day that this video is coming out, to the weekend of November 1st. And after that weekend, Faceoffs will be put on a 1-month hiatus due to F1 taking over the city for the USA Grand Prix in November. The Faceoff weekends will then resume in December, with the last 2 groups taking place over the weekends of December 6th and December 20th. Each of these Faceoff shows will likely consist of 3 of your traditional Battlebots Destructathon showbot fights to kick things off, showcasing the likes of Mammoth, Tazbot, Kraken, Overkill, Whiplash, among others. And then the last 2 fights on these shows should be the night's 2 Battlebots Face-Off competition matches, as every robot will fight one another for 3 days straight, one battle a night to decide our winners come Sunday night in the round robin. And like I stated, these face-off groups will not be featured on Discovery, given the current limbo we seem to be in, but instead they will be for free on YouTube, though we do not know as to what format or extent yet. Some say it will be live streamed, though that seems ridiculous given the fact it's 2 fights a day pretty much. So the general expectation seems to be 8 episodes, 1 for each group, acting as a fight compilation for each group stage, 6 fights in total per episode. And of course, since this is on YouTube and not Discovery, the budget sadly will not be the same. This sadly means no Chris, no Kenny, not even Farouk sadly. Those guys ain't cheap. I do expect Bill Dwyer to be in the house as the main host and commentator though, with Steven likely nearby. I believe that's his name. Though since it is a bigger production, it wouldn't shock me to see a bigger name brought in as host number 2. Maybe an internet personality could work. There's a couple of options there, especially in the STEM world, assuming they can call a fight well. Will be fascinating to see, but pretty much expect your usual Destructathon hosts as our casts for Battlebots Faceoffs. But that's pretty much what we can tell you about the format. 32 robots from all walks of Battlebots lore, from giant nut winners to all-stars to veterans to proving ground mainstays to brand new robots, all in round-robin groups of 4, 6 fights a group, 48 fights in total for all of us to enjoy, but overall, a lot of robots to talk about over these 2 previews. A lot of stories that you may have missed to go over, a lot of upgrades, and a lot of new wicked designs you may have never seen if you've only been watching on TV. Some of these designs may just end up being our next giant nut winner, and that is no joke at all. There's a lot to discuss though, so now with the details on the event out of the way, let's get to what we really want to talk about here. Who is competing? In this part 1 video, we are going to be going over the first 4 groups that we are going to be witnessing, groups 1 through 4, and then in the next video, it will be all about the last 4 groups, groups 5 through 8, plus we will be giving our prediction for all 8 groups. So stay tuned for that later in the week. But for now, let's kick off our group preview with a group that is kicking off in just a handful of hours just west in Las Vegas. Group number 1. Battlebots Faceoff kicks off with a fairly well-balanced group full of Battlebots veteran teams of various levels, with 2 of these teams being longtime Battlebots All-Stars and favorites, with Skorpios and Mad Catter, and the other 2 being new undercutters from Battlebot squads which have fought with different robots in the past, looking at the promising Roundhouse and the brand new Calypso. But it seems fitting we kick off with one of the sweetest teams in the sport, and probably the robot we know the most about of all 32 robots entering this event, much thanks to their amazing YouTube page. It's the Lytle family and the beloved Skorpios. This team fell in the top 32 of World Championship 7 to eventual runner-up Huge, but has since managed to go 2-0 at Proving Grounds with a couple of victories over Slammo, a little bit of momentum for Team Bashbots, who are going to be bringing 2 fully prepared Skorpios to this event this weekend. 1 prepared for horizontal spinner battles and 1 prepared for vertical spinner battles. And Skorpios, on top of that, will have 2 anti-vertical spinner configurations prepared. 1 similar to their Hypershock fight and 1 similar to their more recent Jackpot fight. This version of Skorpios has been deemed Skorpios number 9.5 by the team, not fully committing to their original Skorpios number 10 design just yet, instead trying out portions of that design with a brand new top on Skorpios, while the base and chassis of the robot remain original to what we've recently seen in the past. What's different on this top half though? Firstly, Skorpios will be armed with a brand new weapon blade, meaning that the T-Rex head is no more, but this new weapon does look like it has some serious bite. But that's not the only change to the weapon arm. No, in my opinion, the biggest change here in Skorpios will be the fact that the arm now has a wheelie bar, and the team even had to modify their turtle shell arm into a wheelie bar for this event in lieu of a key part on the original wheelie bar design missing. And that's only one setback. This team has had some setbacks due to health concerns as well, unfortunately, but they've been taking it easy. Plenty of hands have pitched in, helped, and are staying on deck for the Lytle family, and in typical Team Skorpios fashion, this robot will be ready and armed with spares on spares, as always, for Battlebots Faceoffs. Probably the most armed and prepared team of this entire group number 1, if not the entire event. The All-Star Skorpios will be joined by fellow massive SoCal named Mad Catter in group number 1, as Mad Catter is set to make its first competitive appearance since RoboGames 2023, where the Killer Kitty had the best placement of its career, taking the silver medal. Issue is, that's about all we know on the robot for right now, as outside of a boisterous promo by team captain Martin Mason on Instagram, not much on this robot is known when it comes to Battlebots Faceoff. A story over a couple of teams here, unfortunately. On the team's Facebook, they promised they're going to be testing a quote-unquote new design at this event. To what extent that means is not known, but I'm sure it's going to look like the usual Mad Catter we all know and love. My big question is, who's going to drive it? Usually they're able to get Calviniba for these sort of things, and I imagine they will here too, but if any complications come up like we saw for Mad Catter at Robotica, where a sub-driver is needed, the cat may be cooked. I hate to say it. But now we move on to our two new undercutters, one much newer than the other here in group number 1. But we start off here with the one with a couple of fights under its belt. From Team RoboGym, the Indiana crew which brought us Control Bot Deadlift for 2 seasons, they now bring us Roundhouse, a 2-wheel drive power undercutter which is an upscale of design for their championship winning 30-pound undercutter of the same name. Roundhouse, like I said, does have a couple of battles under it already, having fought last year at Proving Grounds in what ended up being a massive debut weekend, as it defeated the just as exciting Orbitron over 2 straight nights, both times by knockout. That gave Roundhouse a 2-0 record for the year, a number 26 overall TCC ranking, and a good bit of momentum leading into Battlebots Faceoffs, where Roundhouse will be making its 2024 debut. Talking about what's changed on Roundhouse since 2023, well, we do not know. The team is usually active on social media and even promise updates on the robot going all the way back to July. They are probably, understandably, quite busy right now, so we don't have any updates just yet. Maybe that's set to change before these fights hit our TVs on YouTube. And then finally, we have Calypso, our second new undercutter from a veteran squad, and with the dropout of UFWO, one of only 2 robots in our 32 here that is making not only its Battlebots debut, but also its robot combat debut. This unique undercutter was built by Team Horizon, who had originally entered Robotica, Battlebots, and Proving Grounds with their first heavyweight Horizon, and was actually originally intending to enter this event and group with Horizon here. But on the 26th of August, the team would announce a brand new heavyweight. The undercutter Calypso would be taking its place. But fear not, Horizon and Skyline fans, the team has promised that Horizon will not be retired, but instead is going on a hiatus to update the machine in terms of competitive viability. Back to Calypso though. This new robot would be a little bit of a different take on the undercutter design, mixing in control and offense with the V-shaped body, plus the array of which lets that angle inward at the front. These forks are not the only team's option either. Team Horizon has stated that they also have prepared an anti-horizontal spinner plow for Calypso, something that will most certainly be put to the test against Roundhouse. Another thing that will be put on the test in that fight is the undercutter itself on Calypso, which is a 45-pound asymmetrical disc, a deadly mass which makes up nearly 1/5 of Calypso's weight. But that's the 4 robots of the group, but we also want to preview what should be some of the most significant battles at Battlebots Faceoffs to watch out for. Things such as potential rematches, main event meetings, and battles which could have significant stakes as to who places where in each group. And group number 1 has a couple of these battles, the highlight match here of course being Mad Catter versus Skorpios. These all-star teams have shared events at numerous Battlebots competitions from Remars to Champions, but have never shared an arena until Battlebots Faceoffs. Martin Mason and Zach Lytle have been cutting WWE-style promos to one another online, hyping up the battle, but this is no joke for either team. Like I mentioned, Zach is bringing 2 anti-vertical spinner setups to this event, but he's keeping it close to his chest as to which he's going to be using the day of the event. Mods are huge in Battlebots, and both of these robots utilize them well. It's going to be a very tactical meeting. Now, neither Deadlift nor Horizon have history inside of Battlebots with Mad Kitty or Bashbots, but on the same day that Skorpios and Mad Catter will do battle, these 2 new undercutters from experienced squads will be having their own highlight meeting. Both these teams really failed to find success with their original designs on Battlebots TV and are on their own roads now to turn a new leaf with newer and scarier designs. One of these robots has a chance to win here, guarantee themselves a top 3 spot, and if I gotta be honest, I think Roundhouse will be a huge favorite to win there. But now we move on to a very fascinating and maybe even more loaded group number 2, a group which features 3 robots which have had stints in the Battlebots playoffs in the past, with Malice, Lucky, and the Hometown Jackpot, plus a new robot to Battlebots TV, but a true mainstay of Battlebots Proving Grounds, one that's shown visible improvements in Disarray. And of these 4 robots, we start with the machine most familiar to the Vegas stage at this point, Malice, who has made a reputation at Destructathon as a showbot by doing some big time damage to the likes of Kraken and Whiplash. But now it's time for the real deal to finally return to the battle box with Bunny and the David Brigade in tow. Malice has been rising in relevance year after year. It looked fantastic in World Championship 7, only getting eliminated in the Sweet 16 by the number 1 seed Minotaur. And just like Mad Catter has only had one competitive appearance since World Championship 7 at RoboGames 2023, also a career best performance where it finished one spot behind the Crazy Cat, taking bronze at the tournament. Malice, just like Skorpios, has by far been the most vocal robot and team of this entire 4-robot group, sharing updates and posts non-stop on their Facebook page in build-up to Battlebots Faceoff Week 2, sharing with all of us that the team will be bringing 3 entire Malices to Faceoffs, allowing the team to bring a fresh version of the robot into every single battle it has. The team has also been so bold as to share what exact configuration they're going to be using in each of these 3 matchups. With Team Malice stating that versus Jackpot, they're going to be bringing out the traditional big red spinner. For Lucky, the big red spinner again, but with the addition of the bunny ear wedgelets. And then finally, for the youngster Disarray, the team will be trying out their brand new Slamethus spinner, a purple replacement to the team's Rolling Blackout spinning bar, and the team will be running bunny forks during this battle as well. 3 different setups for 3 different robots. Seems like a time for experimentation for Team Malice, and certainly another time for improvement. This robot will somehow get better again. But now, moving over to the Vegas showboat itself, Jackpot, Jeff Waters and Team VCR have been a topic of much discussion over the last 365 days, whether it be about BattleBots, NHRL, or RoboGames, and more often than not, that discussion is about how dominant this team has been. After a year that saw Jackpot go 3-2 at Proving Grounds and Supreme Ruler, the team's 3-pounder almost win the NHRL Annual Championship. The team now look to make 2024 an even bigger year, and with Jackpot's recent debut at RoboGames last April, I think they're on the way to do just that. At the controversial event, Jackpot looked incredible under the guise of Blackjack, going 3-2 at RoboGames where it just missed out on a podium finish with victories over the likes of Terratops and Black Dragon. This April 2024 version of Jackpot featured a ton of upgrades to the robot, changes like a brand new weapon system, double the weapon bouts to power it, a new electrical system, and an even sturdier Streamex system to go with it. These changes proved to be quite the success versus a very game RoboGames field, and with how active the team is, I'd be shocked if more changes haven't been made since RoboGames, even if we don't happen to know about them. The team literally has the battle box pretty much in their backyard. Testing is as easy as it can be for the VCR squad. Certainly an intangible every other squad should look out for. But another thing to look out for, Jackpot struggled versus the 4-wheel drive pushbot Raging Scotsman at RoboGames. Maybe this is a weakness a somewhat similar robot in Lucky can capitalize on. And speaking of our powerhouse flipper from the far north, TKO Robotics has had a very busy year of its own, also bringing one Lucky to RoboGames 2024, where just like Jackpot, it would finish 3-2, and just like Jackpot, would be eliminated by one Raging Scotsman. That's not all Lucky has done this year. It was also taking part in various BattleBots Proving Ground matches during that same April, where Lucky would be on the losing end of back-to-back All-Star Week battles against Minotaur and Banshee, losing the former by KO, and that has put the 3-time BattleBots playoff veteran in a bit of a hole here, as it now enters face-offs at 4-5 for 2024. Being slightly under 500 is slightly unfortunate, but the big topic here with me for TKO Robotics has less to do with the machine itself and more about who's going to be driving the machine. As we've all learned through social media over the past couple of months, the powerhouse driver of Lucky, Matt Olson, will be leaving his home country team for the Robotic Death Company and will be becoming Carbide's main driver for the foreseeable future, leaving quite a gap behind the wheel for Mark Demers and Lucky. And we'll give Demers his credit. He's no slouch of a driver by any means, but a lot of people, myself included, attributed Lucky's recent success to the addition of Matt Olson and his excellent driving. This will undeniably give Lucky a bit of a chip on its flipper in such a spinner and veteran-loaded group, but never count out the killer Canuck. Lastly, we have Disarray, coming in not as a BattleBots TV veteran, but after 8 fights these last 2 years inside the battle box, it is most certainly a Proving Grounds veteran. This compact, aquatic, four-wheel drive vertical spinner from Wildcat Robotics kicked off its career strong with 3 consecutive victories over fellow newcomers Terra Dominator and Taco Tuesday, but has since followed that streak up with a different streak, a losing streak. Disarray currently sits at 5 straight losses going from 2023 into 2024, all of which by knockout to the likes of Taco Tuesday, Jackpot, and eventually Orbitron earlier this year. This means Disarray has put itself into quite a pit with an 0-2 record in 2024, still looking for win number 1 this year. The robot was rebuilt from top to bottom between the 2 years, and the upgrades have shown that this robot has grown with each battle it has partaken in, with thicker armor and a new weapon. But in a world with a much scarier Wraith-themed robot and deadlier vertical spinners in general, this Arizona spinner still looks for its first big break. And it may be tough to find one with so little momentum in such a strong field with such great minds. And the interesting matches to watch out for here in group number 2 are plentiful. Jackpot literally has history with all 3 of these robots having 2 matches, a pair of knockout victories over Disarray, a 1-1 tie with Malice after Jackpot won their World Championship 6 fight and Malice won their Remars All-Stars battle. And of course, Jackpot also had that excellent nail-biter judging decision win against Lucky during the 2023 Champions Heat semifinals, meaning that we have plenty of lore on Jackpot's road to the title. Disarray will be looking to break the 0-2 deficit it holds versus Jackpot. Lucky will be looking to break even in Vegas, and Buddy Soriol will be looking to win the rubber match versus Jeff Waters. Speaking of Malice, intrigue has also been sparked for its battle against Disarray. See, Bunny is originally from Arizona and actually went to Arizona State University, a main rival to the Arizona Wildcats, the university which Disarray hails from. It's going to be an all-Arizona showdown, fittingly in the desert for both of these robots' third and final round of the weekend. But now, halfway there, we move on to a much less veteran-laden group number 3, and to myself and many other fans of Robot Combat, this is undeniably the Mickey Mouse group of the Battlebots Faceoff field. If you're a casual fan of Battlebots, the only name you're going to recognize here is our beloved Rusty. But ultimately, if you know, y'all. There are 3 glass shows in this group and 1 Mike Tyson, and that 1 Mike Tyson is the undeniable Manta. Manta is a 4-wheel drive drum bot and the top prospect in Battlebots, if not all of Robot Combat bar none, and according to Greg Munson, is already confirmed for the next Battlebots World Championship, whenever that may be, an honor no other newcomer has been able to attain thus far. Since this robot debuted at RoboGames 2023 a year and a half ago, this insane machine has put together a 13-win, 1-loss record, and just this year alone is 5-0, the top TCC ranked robot of the year thus far, currently sitting as our reigning, defending, 2-time RoboGames heavyweight champion. So what powers this seemingly unstoppable machine? This 4-wheel drive elevated drum bot is equipped with a 20-inch wide, 70-pound spinning mass at the front, which can spin up to 12,000 RPM. And when it gets going, it takes a lot to stop it, with the robot's only loss coming against the mighty Hexadecimator after Manta essentially burned itself out with a rookie mistake. But even that was over a year ago now. If there's a weakness, we do not know about it, and because of that, there's really not much to discuss in terms of upgrades to Manta, because what is there to upgrade on this elite robot? It's beaten everyone its face, whether it's been a Battlebots mainstay or not. Nick Dobrikov has an amazing, unstoppable machine here, and the crazy thing is, it was almost brought to us a year earlier when this robot almost appeared on Battlebots in 2022 when it applied under the name Drago, but ultimately got denied to the robot being a fairly unknown quantity at the time. It is certainly not an unknown now, and it's about to show its dominance to Battlebots TV for the first time ever. If you're expecting anything less than 3 straight KOs from Manta, you might be making a mistake. So now let's go over Manta's 3 victims one by one here, starting with a couple of horizontal spinners which have fought earlier this year, leading with the new spinner from a very old team, Rust Robotics Red Hot Hellfire. The slick Hellfire was designed to be a counterpart robot to the team's ace machine, Swamp Thing, but is a yin to Swamp Thing's yang in many ways. Swamp Thing is a vertical spinner, Hellfire is a horizontal spinner. Swamp Thing has a relatively small weapon for a heavyweight, Hellfire has one of the biggest in the Battlebots Faceoff field. How big? Try 76 pounds and 3 feet in length, all while being powered by a motor originally designed to be used on Tombstone. And if that's not scary enough, the team has also recently added a flamethrower to Hellfire's arsenal, really allowing the machine to live up to its name. But what Hellfire hasn't lived up to, though, is the hype. After an array of original opponents, the likes of Switchback and Traves-T, which it had to pull out versus, Hellfire eventually found its first and so far only Proving Grounds opponent in Overkill, a Destructathon showbot which managed to send Hellfire out the arena within seconds of its debut fight after deflecting Hellfire's powerful weapon. This leaves Hellfire at a career 0-1 entering face-offs, continuing what has been a frustrating year and a half for Rust Robotics, with both of their heavyweights faltering when the lights are brightest. But now time for an even more wacky horizontal spinner in Traves-T, a robot known very well by us at the Combot Collective, and a robot which has very much captured the hearts of Battlebots fans without even making one televised appearance. We've been all over this robot's very quick rise up the sport in 2023, but we haven't been on top of covering Traves-T's unfortunately less impressive 2024. After we saw this robot shock the sport with 2 sub-minute KOs to start its career, the team went back to work on Traves-T to bring us version 1.5 to start the year. The robot had moved down to a singular rear leg to articulate the body, and a shift of the robot's internals was made, with most of it now being near the rear of the robot, with the most of it being now near in the rear half of Travis. These changes, plus an up in competition, caused a lot of bad news for Traves-T though. It started strong, picking up a win versus Apex, but has since lost 3 straight to Swamp Thing, Minotaur, and Mondamus, evening its career record to 3-3 entering face-offs. Now at this fall event, we're set to see another version of Traves-T, a completely rebuilt one labeled version 2, and Team 2x4 has made even bolder changes this time. Traves-T number 2 features a simpler but still very unique design, plus a new color scheme to boot, as this version features a simpler and much lighter weapon pivoting system, light enough to the point where it has given this robot weight allowance and has allowed Kurt Kruger to really change this robot for the better elsewhere as well. For the first time ever, Traves-T will have wheel guards, steel ones for face-offs, and we're even looking at a scarier weapon too, with Travis now being armed with a 3-foot wide, 78-pound blade, 8 pounds heavier than 1.5's weapon. And finally, an interesting note on version 2, this robot will be running on brushed motors instead of brushless, which is what the original Traves-T ran on. We hope these changes will allow for this wacky design to push for second place in the group, and maybe shift up the meta a little bit, you never know. But now we finally have every single Facebook mom's favorite robot, the only Battlebots TV veteran in this group, Rusty. David Eaton's Rusty will be a fan favorite in the field, but despite this, in typical Rusty fashion, it will be a massive underdog versus these 2 vicious horizontal spinners, and especially versus the robot which may be the best and most destructive in the world today. Rusty, interestingly enough, is the latest addition to the face-offs field, with this spot originally being occupied by UFO, a UFO-themed rookie full-body spinner which seemingly failed to make it past the CAD stage, leaving the Battlebots office to call in the one and only Team Iron Force. And Rusty, as lovable as it is, can be looked at as a questionable replacement. According to promotional media, we're going to be seeing version 2 of Rusty, the one made for Hexbugs and the one which has not worked at all for 2 straight Battlebots seasons, only barely working enough for it to have a Vengeance in Vegas fight versus Hydra at the end of the World Championship 7 taping. And since Vengeance in Vegas, we haven't heard anything at all from old Rusty, at least from a bot update standpoint that is, which makes me very anxious about our all-star fill-in robot. I mean, honestly, it would not surprise me at all if Rusty 1.0 ends up showing up again instead. David Eaton has said online recently that his welding skills have greatly improved since 2022, so maybe there will be a little bit of growth and development here for Rusty, taking place behind the scenes. Who knows? But I gotta admit, it would not surprise me to see Rusty fail to reach round 3 or even round 2 of this round robin. Overkill may be filling in for some competitive rounds sooner rather than later. Talking about marquee fights though, Manta surprisingly doesn't have a history with any of these 3 robots, despite the fact the Rust Robotics and Team 2x4 have shared RoboGames bracket with it in the past. No, instead, the only real fight to look out for here in this group, in my opinion, is Hellfire versus Traves-T. Two robots with large, 3-foot wide horizontal spinners, fighting to see who will likely end up as the group's runner-up. Traves-T and Hellfire were actually supposed to meet one another inside the battle box last January at Proving Grounds, but Hellfire had to pull out. Hellfire will be subbed out for Swamp Thing, who eventually defeated Traves-T, potentially leaving Kurt Kruger here on a mission to break even with Rust Robotics. We now cap off part 1 of our Battlebots Faceoffs preview with group number 4, an all-vertical spinner pool which features 2 clear underdogs, an all-star favorite, and another robot which very well may be an all-star favorite in its own right within a couple of years' time. We start off with that future all-star, of course, one Magnitude, who has been one of the most hyped up robots in the history of Proving Ground's short lifespan thus far. Outside of undefeated powerhouses such as Roundhouse and Manta, Magnitude likely stands as the top TV newcomer present at Battlebots Faceoffs, and Magnitude was built by Chad New, a longtime pit crew member of Team Copperhead, plus one of Colorado's best and longest tenured builders, and it will be pit crewed by some familiar faces as well, such as Chris DeSico, Lindsey Bear, and even the questionable Clyde Magnuson, all of NHRL fame, among others. Talking about the machine though, Magnitude is a 6-wheel drive drum bot that boasts a 66-pound single-tooth drum, though it does have weapon options available, plus an anti-vertical spinner and horizontal spinner configuration, allowing for some major modularity on this robot. Magnitude was hyped up heavily in build-up to his debut, where it faced the one and only Hypershock, but ended in 2023 at 0-2 after a pair of incredibly contested battles against Hypershock and Alex Bales. The team learned from these 2023 mistakes and then made big updates in the new year with modified wheels and added weapon power, and the results have followed. The Colorado drum bot has so far put together a 4-1-1 2024, with all of its wins coming by way of knockout and its sole loss coming against Manta at RoboGames in what was arguably one of, if not, the best fights of the entire year. Magnitude now stands as one of the most feared robots in the United States, up there with machines like Tombstone and Manta, and has easily developed the best reputation amongst its group over these last 2 years. Chad New and Team Wazio also have some momentum on their side, as just a couple of days ago, Yahoo, the team's main 30-pounder and inspiration to the Magnitude design, managed to win the NHRL September Featherweight Championship, meaning that vibes are, fittingly enough, quite high in Colorado. Magnitude isn't the only Colorado heavy keeping busy this year though, as we also have Taco Tuesday, brought to us by STEM YouTuber Carter Hurd. Taco Tuesday is one of the more abstract robots in this field of 32, but it is certainly not one for the purists to roll their eyes over. This unique robot was originally inspired by the team's Antweight of the same name, a successful Antweight at that, which was armed with a unique T-drive setup which provided one wheel specifically for turning and one wheel specifically for advancing forward and backward. A crazy concept that the team has brought up from the 1-pound design to the 250-pound design with a shocking amount of success so far. This T-Drive Taco has a 55-pound Hypershock-inspired dual-disc spinner at the front, which can go the full 250 mile-per-hour tip speed. But the key feature on Taco Tuesday is undeniably its sturdy, 1-inch thick UHMW taco shell, which borders a just as sturdy aluminum robot body. This taco shell also has the perfect concave shape to allow Taco Tuesday to perfectly pull an Ivanhoe with every attack, making it almost impossible to flip over. Taco Tuesday even has a mini-bot named Hot Sauce. There's a fun fact there, a robot we're likely going to see at least in one battle. And, like I said, this robot has shocked in its 2 Proving Ground weekends it's partaken in thus far against Magnitude and Disarray, coming into those weekends as the odds-on underdogs both times, but still managing to knock out Disarray once in its first weekend and bringing Magnitude to a contested draw in its second weekend. So this does leave Taco Tuesday in a 0-1 spot for 2024 with that one draw, but I can see that first 2024 win coming at this event, maybe against our next robot. The clear underdog in this group would be Doom, Battlebots' newest and biggest hammersaw robot, coming from the creative mind of Alejandro Pena and one of the sport's most fascinating stories within the 250-pound division. We all originally heard of Doom through its 2022 Battlebots application, where many of us were impressed, including Battlebots themselves, as Doom would quickly be accepted, making it into Battlebots on its very first try. Drama, though, seeped into Doom's story immediately into tapings, as it quickly became the first publicly known robot to drop out of Battlebots World Championship 7's Field of 50 after numerous issues prevented it to get ready in time. Issues that plagued the team going into Battlebots Champions and eventually even to Vengeance in Vegas, where the team would eventually get a proving exhibition versus Samurai, but would lose badly, setting Alejandro and Team APT on a long road to legitimizing Doom, all while making it the USA's most active heavyweight by far in 2023. After World Championship 7, Doom would show up to Rubber Games 2023 and every single Proving Grounds event it could possibly attend that year, but struggled significantly at every step, going 4-7 in 2023, with 2 of these wins coming against a rookie clusterbot and 1 coming against Horizon, literally because it was Alejandro's birthday. Moving forward, though, oddly enough, 2024 has been completely different for Doom. No fights at all for the first half of the year, leaving Battlebots Faceoffs to surprisingly be its 2024 debut. Hopefully that gap doesn't affect it. Over these 2 years, Doom has evolved heavily, ditching the Omni wheels, trying out various weapon arms, even trying out different armor types. We know Team APT have stated upgrades and better plans, quote unquote, are promised for 2024, but the team have kept these changes up their sleeve, so nothing is known exactly about what kind of Doom we are going to be seeing at Battlebots Faceoffs. Finally, we have the robot we've heard the least from over the last 2 years in this group, yet the one with all the expectations in the world. Competing for the first time since Battlebots 2022, it's the one and only 2 times Battlebots finalist Witch Doctor. And no, not the Showbot Witch Doctor that fought Fireball and Showbot Hypershock in the past. We're talking about the real 250-pound deal with the Voodoo crew of Andrea and Mike Galately at the helm. Witch Doctor was last seen competitively at Battlebots World Championship 7, where it was easily the best 3-1 robot of the regular season, almost taking the #1 playoff seed in the process, where it then made a run to the Sweet 16, where it would be halted by eventual champion Sawblaze. It looked nearly unstoppable at this event, but that was 2 years ago now. The team now likely focuses on updating the Voodoo Queen to modern standards, updates that they have kept quiet about, but given the recent sponsor announcements on their social media pages, work is certainly being done, and any news about robot updates themselves will likely be on Pit Pass, the channel membership on the Witch Doctor YouTube pages instead. But wrapping up, no shortage of interesting matches and potential rematches here in Group Number 4, most notably for Magnitude, who, as I mentioned, faced Taco Tuesday earlier this year, putting up a draw versus them the first time and then knocking them out the second time. Taco Tuesday is a sturdy contender, no doubt about it, and with the right driving, there might be a chance for Carter Hurd to break even against Chad in what will be match number 3 of the war between Colorado's 2 newest heavyweight robots. Perhaps more interesting to the casual fan, though, will be Magnitude versus Witch Doctor, a fight which, barring an upset, will most likely decide who wins Group Number 4. Chad New may have not fought Witch Doctor before, but he was on the pit crew for Copperhead in World Championship 6, where they met Witch Doctor in the Sweet 16. Witch Doctor won this fight by knockout after magnet issues halted Copperhead's drive, but there's no magnets to save Witch Doctor from this newer, potentially even stronger Colorado drumbot, so the Galatlys better watch out. There you go. That wraps it up, guys. For the first half, at least, 16 bots up, 16 bots down, 4 groups up, 4 groups down. We talked about all your favorites, like Skorpios, like Mad Hatter, like Witch Doctor, like Rusty, like UFO, psych, they're not showing up. Even like Malice and Jackpot, robots have been very familiar to the Vegas site. We also have talked about some newcomers, very exciting newcomers, maybe 3 of the most promising newcomers in these first 3 groups, with Roundhouse, Magnitude, and of course Manta. A lot of very exciting robots to cover here, and even more exciting ones to talk about in our second half video, such as Hypershock, such as Tombstone, such as Minotaur. Finally talk about Matt Olson a little bit, his new robot he's going to be driving. It is very exciting. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the predictions that we are going to be having, predicting all 8 Battlebots Faceoff groups, who's going to win. And hopefully we can get that out before these hit TV, whenever that may be. I don't know if it's going to be right after the tapings or not. But that's going to wrap it up here for this first half of the Battlebots Face-Off preview here at the Combot Collective. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy what you see here at the TCC page, please check out our Instagram and Facebook page. Plenty of news posts there. Video updates go there. Check out the Discord page. Video updates hit there first. We got builders and fans mingling, talking about various events and builds they go to, things they enjoy. And of course, you're right here on the YouTube page. Like the video, leave a comment, giving us your thoughts on Battlebots Face-Offs, giving us some constructive criticism. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube page. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We've been sitting on 700 for a minute. We'd like to move forward. Let's see if we can get that happening. That will wrap it up here at the Combot Collective. I'm your host, as always, Sterling Brown, and I will see you guys next time very soon for more Battlebots Face-Off previews and more from the UK, Russia, and all around the world.
This was the Combot Collective. Find us on Instagram and Discord.